All right, in this next video demonstration, we're going to go on our group policy and allow users to log into domain controllers interactively or log in locally. Normally, your normal average Joe user, so to speak, will not be able to log into a domain controller. Only domain admins, for example, administrators can do that, which makes sense. You don't want normal users walking up to a domain controller and being able to log in. So we're going to give them that capability because some of the things we're going to be doing in future labs are going to require and allow for this to occur. So what I'm going to do is go on my server B domain controller and open up my group policy management console. And we are going to go inside of our group policy objects and let's make a new GPO, and we're going to call this allow login locally. It's okay. Now let's edit that allow login locally GPO. Under computer configuration policies, Windows settings, security settings, local policies, and then user rights assignment. And we're going to go to the user right of allow login locally. Check the box to define these policy settings, and we're going to add in both the administrators, plural here, and authenticated users. So let's see here. I'm holding down the control key on the keyboard so I can select both, again, the administrators and authenticated users groups, and say OK, and say OK, and OK again. And so now I have those two groups defined in there. And then we are going to close out the editing of this, and then we are going to drag and drop this. We can do this one of two ways. We can drag and drop this to the domain controllers container by adding it there. And it says, hey, do you want to link that GPO that you selected this OU? We could say yes. Or we could also right click on the domain controllers container and say link an existing GPO. And we'll do this allow login locally and say OK. So now as you can see, we have the allow login locally and the default domain controllers policies added or linked to that domain controllers. And we also want to do one more thing. We want to highlight this allow login locally GPO on the right hand side, and we want to hit this arrow to move that to the top of the processing order for the group policies for the domain controllers container. The last thing we want to do to make sure that all of our domain controllers get this policy immediately is we want to run a GP update force on the group policy, or excuse me, on the domain controllers. So we're going to do a GP update force to update that computer specific policy. And while that's working on B, I'm going to jump over here to my C and run the same command. So again, we're going to do a GP update force, and I might as well go ahead and do the same thing on my well, we don't have to do it on core right now. We don't worry about that. Maybe if you're having a problem later on, you need to log in locally to the core and that's not been updated, then go ahead and run GP update force on the core as well. But for now, I'm just going to do it on B and C. And really, B and C are the only ones we really need to do because they're the only ones that are domain controllers and that exist in that domain controllers container. So just to clarify that, just to show you, if I go over to my Active Directory users and computers, a little extra bonus stuff here for you, why not? In my Active Directory users and computers container, you'll notice that, or domain controllers container, you'll notice that I only have server B and server C computer objects in there because those are the only two domain controllers that I have existing in my domain. All right, that's all you had to do for this portion of the lab.